is just mind-boggling. It has grown, I mean, exponentially is not fast enough to describe, or is not big enough approach. Just to put this in context and to date myself, the first PC that I had in my house in Madurai in 1981 or something, which was just after IBM released its first PC, had a RAM of 64K and a hard drive of 20 megabytes. Not even one picture on your phone today, a high quality picture. Today, I think, we've run out of zeros to talk about the amount of data that's being generated every day. And the average phone is probably, at least the iPhones or the smartphones are, in hundreds of gigabytes or 1 or 2 terabytes in a phone. And so the amount of data that can be stored has just gone through the roof, and the way it is collected has changed dramatically. I can remember before the big AD converter revolution of the late 80s, early 90s, only data that was manually entered into the computer was in the computer. Now we have data that nobody has ever touched coming in such high volumes. And this lends itself to the notion that we don't need a human being in between. The collection is automatic, the storage is automatic, the algorithms will process, and the results will come without any human being having touched it. So data is the first big thing, I think, that has changed, and why this time is different. The second is the nature of processing. And that's changed probably in 2 ways that have real impact. The first is the types of processors and the ways they process in terms of GPUs and the ability to process things without the traditional kind of model, but in large volumes, whether it is the kind of quantum computing or with the GPUs, in ways that we have never envisioned before. So the speed, which used to be the biggest problem, because if you go through an enumerative approach for any problem, any complex problem, it will take infinite amount of time to arrive at a final answer. But if you go through these kinds of complex, high degrees of complexity, automatic processing or simultaneous processing, then you're making processing so incredibly fast that you can ask the kinds of questions that you couldn't used to be able to get answers for before. The second, I think, is that such processing power doesn't have to be isolated or doesn't require investments in hundreds of millions of dollars at every person who wants to use it. The notion of cloud-based services, the fact that you can call on it on demand, that even a person with a small amount of money can buy a huge amount of computing power for brief periods of time. I think that has profoundly changed the way that we think about processing, learning, self-learning, improving automation. The third, I think, is that we have gone away from traditional notions of data to a lot more inclusive, especially on voice, which to me in India is going to be a big game changer, because a lot of people don't have either traditional input devices or even the ability to type or do texting. So if you have the possibility of huge amounts of data and large amounts of processing capability, I think then the physical infrastructure becomes actually the bottleneck. The first physical infrastructure is, do you have data centers that can store that kind of data? And we're seeing a huge explosion in those. Tamil Nadu has an updated data center policy for various reasons, primarily because the submarine cables have a concentration in Chennai for the data that comes across the water. Also because our infrastructure in terms of roads and power is quite good, and also that we can wheel green energy relatively easily here. We are quite high ratio of green energy. A lot of the data center owners, the hyperscalers or the professional data center, meaning for the sake of data center companies, have commitments to being relatively green or 100% carbon neutral in the very near term. I think Microsoft's is in 2030 or something, very close. So the availability of green energy in a reasonable distance and being able to wheel it, I think, is a big difference. And there again, we are quite far ahead. The second is that you need lots and lots of energy for these data centers. And as of now, the production bottlenecks in the chips is probably limiting more than the energy itself. But at some point, we're going to find that if we really want to deploy this level of data and these volumes of computing power, then the energy needs are going to go up a lot. So that then brings the question, if we're already relatively energy, I would say, balanced at best, we are not a surplus energy state, we are not a surplus energy country, how do you deal with the excess demand that's going to come, the spike in demand of energy that's going to come? And it's my view that much like in the telecommunications and civil aviation space, if we are smart, countries like India, other nations in Asia, we will find a smarter way to grow relative to what most of the industrialized countries did. Anyway, there's not the possibility of replicating China's scale manufacturing anywhere else in the world. That ship has sailed. We can improve a lot, but we're not going to get to China's scale. So if we don't need that kind of production capacity and we don't need the energy that goes with it, in terms of consumer demand, in terms of domestic as well as kind of systemic energy for infrastructure, for public goods and services, maybe we take a different route. We short-circuit the old, do it inefficiently with conventional energy, and then figure out a way to green. And so if we are thoughtful about where we really need to invest, and in fact, I'll give you an example. In my time in finance, I basically was reluctant to invest in any more government buildings. I said this notion that we need more government offices, government guest houses like circuit houses is anathema to me, right? We're already running 30, 35, now close to 40% vacancies in the government workforce compared to sanctioned levels of staffing. And we are relatively a developed state, relatively a well-educated state, relatively a high connectivity to the internet state. We should be moving towards online interaction between the citizens and the government, and this has to be the inflection point. At some point, we should stop building, and we should start using the buildings we have more efficiently, and we should just stop scaling the demand for energy and the demand for construction material and effort. As the economy grows, we shouldn't need any or very little further growth in these things, and that will give us the energy efficiency automatically that others would have had to go and come back and figure out how to do. So that process is well upon us, even in Tamil Nadu. I think we can do a lot more. There's some other macro reasons why we should be doing a lot less construction, at least of government buildings and resources. But the primary one from my perspective is, on the one hand, it increases efficiency, it reduces energy demand, and it reduces friction costs and reduces the need for people to travel to go and see somebody and then have a mixed experience when they see a government employee with the power to issue a certificate or validate a transaction. So I think from that perspective, the shift towards more and more automation, more and more, automation and processing, which we call AI, is inevitable, but I don't think it is going exponentially fast. We have seen the cutting edge move dramatically in the last couple of years with the ChatGPTs of the world. But at this point, the technology still is augmentative rather than replacement. and we can see so many flaws, so many limitations in the technology if we try to use it as a kind of general intelligence tool. I have had some personal experiences where I've been invited to speak at events where somebody has tried to be creative, and on 2 occasions where they've tried to have ChatGPT or equivalent write a biography for me as the chief guest. And in both cases it has had enormous hallucinations, merging me with other people. In one case, merging me with my friend Dr. Raghuram Rajan, where we have a few things in common, our last name, MIT, served on the panel together, and then it started attributing all kinds of things to me that was not me. And then in another case, merging me with my good family friend, recently deceased industrialist, Karmuthu Kannan, or Tyagarajan as he was called. And this is the common error. This happens all the time. These machines are not at all, or these engines are not at all that sophisticated. And if you ask them something that is the equivalent of a 5th class physics problem, you're very likely going to get a good answer because it's already been done many times. You ask them to do something creative, like write somebody's bio, I would say 95% of the time you're going to get a lot of problems because the data set that is going into it is not well defined. It's picking up from whatever's there in the public source. Now it'll take time for us to get all these data clean and do this in a much more effective way. In government though, it's a whole different ballgame because the government is the keeper of allegedly pristine records. In the government we have all the data we need, or more data than anybody else in any society. In any society, the government is the largest holder of data. That data may not be in usable form, it may not be tagged, it may not be digital, it may be in paper, but we have almost every record about almost every person. Your birth, your education, your community, your income, your taxes, your licenses, your applications, everything. So there I think there's huge potential. Now to some extent we've already done, since our government came to power, we've done the kinds of integration of data sets that had never been done before. And I would like to think that I did as much for the IT of the government of Tamil Nadu during my 2 years as Finance and Human Resources Minister as I have in my 18 months as IT Minister, because a lot of the efforts that were pioneered back then are bearing fruit now and have been bearing fruit for a while. So our integrated family databases have been so valuable, and we have gone to relatively automatic processing every time we introduce a new scheme, because now the system can do all the planning and thinking itself. For example, when we introduced the Pudumai Pen scheme, which was to give scholarships to girls who have graduated from government schools and are going to study in colleges, we had to kind of go through the first time programming and the analysis of the data because we had never integrated all this data together before. When that scheme was expanded to the boys in the Tamil Pudalvan, actually it was almost straightforward. We just said, use the same algorithms, find anybody who's done whatever, and auto-populate. So right now, if you were in the girls' scheme, you had to apply to get yourself qualified to get the scholarship. If you're in the expansion, you are already told that you are eligible, and you basically just have to say, yes, I take it, or no, I don't take it. Of course, there'll be errors, but 90% plus of it will be automatically done. And this is still just scratching the surface, right? Because I think for me, the ultimate benefit of AI will be to address the real problem we have in governments and governance today. And that is that across the world, all governments have underinvested in infrastructure, in processing capability, in cybersecurity, in institutional memory continuity. And I'm saying rich countries like the United States, all the way to developing countries like ours. This is a common problem. In fact, it's one of, I think, the drivers of the relative kind of recession in democracy that we see all over the world. We see a lot of people losing faith in the system. We see a lot of, what can I say, strong men and people who offer facile solutions and rhetoric being able to capture the imagination of the populace, because most people understand the system is failing. They can't quite tell why, they can't quite tell how to fix it. But to me, it's very clear. Because most governments are monopolies and most markets are not efficient when you're monopolistic, a lot of governments have left the kinds of investment and improvements for too late. I would like to think the last 3.5, 4 years, we have fixed what should have been done in probably 10 or 15, but we are probably 40 years or 30 years late compared to what a corporate platform would look like. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again. To me, this technology and this approach will reach its full potential when somebody who wants to find out if they're eligible for the older women living alone scheme can pick up the phone, call what they think is a human being, start talking, and get basically all the way from who are you, how can I help you, to either you're qualified, the money will be in your bank starting next month, or I'm sorry, this is the reason you're not qualified. If you feel you have a complaint, now let's go to this next stage, right? And we have the technology, we have the data to do that. And even Chennai-based companies now have the voice recognition in multiple languages, not just in English, but in Tamil, in Telugu, to be able to do that. When we achieve that outcome, which requires a lot of things to be done right, then I would say we have reached the potential of how we can improve the functioning of government to benefit and leverage this technology. I want to say a little bit also about the nature of education and what a wonderful opportunity we have because of this change in the technology and the way the machines work. And I think I saw a clip of Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, at Davos earlier this year, and somebody was asking him, what should we tell our children about how to adapt for the changing in the computer technology? What kind of languages should they learn? What kind of programming approach? And his response, which I thought was spectacularly insightful, he said, listen, there's no need for programming anymore. The machines will do the programming themselves. The whole point of AI is that we don't need people to sit and write code. What we need people to do is have the logic, have the understanding, have the basic science, have the ability to train the engines by asking the right questions, what we call prompt engineering, or understand the basics of biology and chemistry and stuff so well so they can get the machine to answer the right questions or think in the right way. So in the age that we're going, we really need to change how we educate our children. And this, right now, it's easy because we take the kids who are like 10th, 11th, 12th colleges or immediate pass-outs, and we teach them some of the things about prompt engineering or large language models. But what we really need to do is change profoundly the way we teach from elementary school upwards, which means we've got to change how we train the teachers. That's always been true in the sense that the education system probably hasn't kept up. And in India, we probably emphasized rote learning way too much. I once heard a theory that because the ultimate job in government is considered to be a UPSC or a TNPSC kind of, selection job, that the entire schooling system is designed to fit people through that kind of, pinhole, which is a bit depressing, right? Because A, those jobs are few and far between. I think the state of Tamil Nadu, for almost 80 million people, has something like 350 IAS officers. Ridiculously low number, completely inadequate. But still, 80 million, 350. If you have a design of a system based on these 350 jobs, then it's profoundly bad logic. And I think, so the system was probably broken already. Now we have this wonderful opportunity to start rethinking from the ground up. What is it that distinguishes human thinking from whatever it is that a machine can teach itself to do given enough processing capacity, energy, data? And I know the government of Tamil Nadu has already taken a lot of steps. We have announced the AI mission. We have signed up with a lot of people in the non-Mudalvan scheme, people like Oracle. We have signed up with companies like Microsoft in the school education department. In IT&T Hub, we have signed up with AWS. We have an MOU with Google on the AI ecosystem development. So we're doing the right things at the kind of on the edge. But if we really want to benefit from this, in my view, we should probably start at the bottom, or start at the foundation, because we'll not get such opportunities again. It is as much an opportunity as it is a crisis. Somebody outside asked me, what happens if we start to see mass layoffs because we do a lot of low-end jobs and the machine will replace us? And I said, I don't think there's that many low-end jobs being done anymore. I think automation or automatic processing is not a 0-1 switch. There's been a lot of improvements already, and the nature of work is no longer the kind of work that was being done 10 years or 15 years ago. B, if you ask me, are we close to the edge of mass replacement of entire human beings' productivity? My own view is that we're not, for all the reasons that I said. Not only are the models not that good, we don't have the capacity to do even the best model scaled across every company, every process, every industry in the short term. It's not far away. I'm not saying it's like 50 years away, but we have time. And I think this vital period in our evolution as a country, where now and for the next 20 years, India will be the largest source of working age human capital in the world of some level of education. This is our chance to get it right and to ride this as a wonderful opportunity rather than see it as a threat. Replacement will come, I think. Replacement of many of the jobs being done today may come, but it's not coming in the next 3, 5, probably 8, 10 years. So we have time. And I hope that all of us collectively, the government, you've heard all day from many of us, industry, academia, global companies, innovators here, all of us together will find a way to see this as an inflection point, not just in the technology, but in our economic activity and in the future of our youth. So with that, I've run out of time. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope you had a wonderful day. And thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan. Can we give him a big round of applause for doing the honors to be with us here today? May I now invite Mr. Suresh Balakrishna, Chief Revenue Officer of the Hindu Group, to please join us on stage to present a memento. Calling upon Mr. Navneet to please do the honors. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, with that we come to the end of this wonderful event. We would once again like to thank our partners. This event is presented by SRM Institute of Science and Technology and powered by SIFI in association with Manage Engine. The Confederation of Indian Industry is the industry partner and CIO Association the strategic partner. Retail GPT is the FI Digital Commerce partner and Tamil Nadu Health Systems Project, the healthcare partner, and Latent View Analytics is the data analytics partner. Tamil Nadu Technology Hub has been roped in as the digital transformation partner, while Tamil Nadu Skills Development Corporation is the skilling partner. Our mobility partner is Chennai Metro Rail and our television partner is Puthiya Thalaimurai. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We hope that
தி இந்து ஏஐ சமிட் வந்து சென்னையில் நடைபெற்று வருகிறது. தமிழக அரசின் தகவல் தொழில்நுட்பத்துறை அமைச்சர் பிடிஆர் பழனிவேல் தியாகராஜன் இதில் பங்கேற்றிருக்கிறார். அவரிடம் சில கேள்விகளை முன்வைக்கலாம். சார், இந்த சமிட்ல நீங்க என்ன மாதிரியான கருத்துக்கள் எல்லாம் முன்வைக்க இருக்கீங்க?
ஆக்சுவலாக இந்த சமிட் இன்னைக்கு முழுசாக நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. துவக்கத்தில் துறையுடைய செயலர், கூடுதல் தலைமை செயலர் குமார் ஜெயந்த் அவர்கள் அரசுடைய திட்டங்களை பற்றியும் அரசுடைய இலக்குகளை பற்றியும் குறிப்பாக அக்டோபர் 9ஆம் தேதி ஒரு ஜியோ இஷ்யூ பண்ணியிருக்கோம். தமிழ்நாடு ஏஐ மிஷன் அதோடைய அம்சங்கள் பற்றியும் அதோடைய முயற்சிகள் பற்றியும் ஏற்கனவே விரிவாக பேசியிருக்காரு. அதற்கு பிறகு பல துறைகளில், இப்போதைக்கு கல்வித்துறையில், அதேபோல் நல்வாழ்வுத்துறையில், அதேபோல் விவசாயத்துறையில் எங்கெல்லாம் ஏஐ யூஸ் பண்ணுறோமோ அதை பற்றிலாம் அந்தந்த துறை செயலர்கள் பேசியிருக்காங்க. சற்று முன் நம்ம இன்குபேஷன் ஐடிஎன்டி இன்னோவேஷன் அண்ட் டெக்னாலஜி சென்டர் ஆஃப் தமிழ்நாடுன்னு ஆரம்பிக்கப்பட்ட, நம்ம ஆட்சிக்கு வந்த பிறகு ஆரம்பிக்கப்பட்ட அந்த ஐடிஎன்டியோடைய சிஇஓ இங்கே உரையாற்றியிருக்காங்க. அதனால் வெவ்வேறு பங்கை பற்றி வெவ்வேறு அதிகாரிகள் அந்தந்த துறையில் என்ன நடக்குதுன்னு பேசியிருக்காங்க. நான் கொள்கை ரீதியாக ஒரு தொலைநோக்கு பார்வையுடன் ஏஐ வரும் காலங்களில் எப்படி வேலை வாய்ப்புகளை மாற்றும், எப்படி அரசாங்கத்துடைய செயல்பாட்டை சிறப்பிக்கும், அதற்கு ஏற்ப மனிதவள மேலாண்மையை நம்ம எப்படி மாற்றிக்கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்ற தலைப்புகளில் இங்கே உரையாற்ற இருக்கிறேன்.
நீங்கள் ஃபினான்ஸ் மினிஸ்டராக இருக்கும்போது குறிப்பாக இந்த மகளிர் உரிமை தொகைக்காக ஒரு தரவுகளை மத்திய அரசிடம் கேட்டுருவாங்க. தரவுகள்ன்றது ரொம்ப முக்கியமாக இருக்குது. அதை எப்படி ஏஐ மூலியமாக விட்டெடுக்க போகிறோம்?
அதாவது நார்மல் அனாலிசிஸ்க்கும் ஏஐ செய்கிற ஒரு டேட்டா பேஸ்ட் லேர்னிங்க்கும் வித்தியாசம் என்னன்னா, நார்மல் அனாலிசிஸில் இருக்கிற டேட்டாவை வச்சு நம்ம கேட்குற கேள்விக்கு பதில் கிடைக்குமா என்ற ஒரு ஆய்வை செய்ய முடியும். ஏஐயில் என்ன பெரிய மாற்றம்னா, டேட்டாவில் என்ன தெரிய வருகிறது என்று மெஷினே தேடுற அளவுக்கு, அதாவது நம்மளை எந்த கேள்வி கேட்குறோன்றதுக்கு தேவையில்லாமல் இதில் என்னன்னா பேட்டர்ன் தெரிய வருகிறது அப்படின்னு திட்டமிடுறதுக்கும், ஒவ்வொரு முறை இந்த முயற்சி எடுக்கும்போது அதே அந்த ஆல்கிரிதமே அடுத்த முயற்சிக்கு ஒரு சிறப்பிக்கும் வகையில் கற்றுக்கொள்வது, இதுதான் ஏஐயோடைய பெரிய வித்தியாசம். இப்போ உதாரணத்துக்கு ஒன்று சொல்கிறேன். இங்கே ஒரு கம்பெனி போன வருஷம் நான் திறந்து வச்சேன், இந்த வருஷம் ஏர்லியர். அது ஆஸ்திரேலியன் கம்பெனி. அவங்க ஹெல்த் கேரில் எக்ஸ்ரேஸை ஏஐ மூலமாக ஆய்வு செய்கிறது. எக்ஸ்ரேஸ் ஆய்வு செஞ்சால் சொன்னால் சட்டப்படி ஒரு மருத்துவர் அது கையெழுத்து எழுதுகிற வரைக்கும் அதை வெளியிட முடியாது. ஏன்னா அதுதான் ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷன் ஆஃப் மெடிக்கல் ப்ராக்டிஸ். ஆனால் இந்த மெஷினில் என்ன பண்ணுறாங்கன்னா, இருக்கிற எல்லா எக்ஸ்ரே, செஸ்ட் எக்ஸ்ரே, சிடி ஸ்கேனை போட்ட உடனே என்ன கண்டுபிடிக்கிறாங்கன்னா, மனிதர்கள் அந்த எக்ஸ்ரே பார்க்கும்போது ஒரு மருத்துவர் இதில் என்ன இருக்குன்னு பாருங்க அப்படின்னு ரேடியாலஜிஸ்ட்டை கேட்குற கேள்விக்கு மட்டும்தான் பதில் சொல்கிறதுக்கு பார்ப்பாங்க. ஆனால் மெஷின் என்ன பார்க்குது, இதில் என்னென்ன பேட்டர்ன்ஸ் இருக்குது, இது கேட்ட கேள்வி இவருக்கு இந்த நோய் இருக்கா இல்லையா. ஆனால் மெஷின் சொல்லுது, எத்தனையோ லட்சம் எக்ஸ்ரே பார்த்ததில் இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பேட்டர்ன் இருந்தால் இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு நோய் இருக்கிறதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு இருக்குது அப்படின்றது முதல் கட்டம். இரண்டாவது கட்டம் என்ன சொல்லுது, ஒரே நபருடைய 10 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னால், 5 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னால் இப்போ இருக்கிற எக்ஸ்ரே இருந்தால், இதே மாதிரி பல லட்சம் பேருக்கு இருந்தால், இன்னைக்கு இருக்கிற வியாதியை அறிந்ததனால் இவருடைய 10 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னால் இருந்த எக்ஸ்ரேல என்ன ஏதாவது சிம்டம் இருந்ததா, அதனால் அதை வச்சு ப்ரெடிக்ட் பண்ண முடியுமா, இந்த மாதிரி இங்கே பேட்டர்ன் இருந்துச்சுன்னா இது 5 வருஷத்தில் இது மாதிரி மாறும். இதை எந்த மனிதராலும் செய்ய முடியாது. ஏன்னா மனிதர்கள் அத்தனை எக்ஸ்ரேவுடைய இமேஜை மனசில் தொடர்ந்து வச்சுக்கவே முடியாது. அதனால் இது ஏஐயோடைய யூனிக் அட்வான்டேஜ் என்னன்னா, இந்த மாதிரி நம்ம இது வரைக்கும் சிந்திக்காத அனாலிசிஸ் எல்லாம் செய்யும். அந்த மாதிரி டேட்டா இருக்கும்போது பல விஷயங்களை கண்டறியலாம். அதுதான் வித்தியாசம்.
குவாண்டம் கம்ப்யூட்டர்ஸ் வாங்குறதுக்கு பிளான்
2-3 முயற்சி பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். அது ஃபின்லாண்டோட, அது இல்லாமல் இந்தியாவில் குவாண்டம் கம்ப்யூட்டிங் மிஷன் சேர்மன் நம்ம அஜய் சௌத்ரி, HCL ஃபவுண்டர் இப்போ இல்லை, அதோட பேசிகிட்டு இருக்கோம். அது இல்லாமல் முந்தானேத்து கூட ஜெர்மனிலேருந்து ஒருத்தர் பார்த்துட்டு போனார். இன்னும் அந்த டெக்னாலஜி எவ்வளோ ஸ்டேபிளாக இருக்குது, எவ்வளோ ஈஸியாக ஆக்சஸ் கிடைக்கும் தெரியல, முயற்சி பார்த்துட்ருக்கோம்.
We are here at the Hindu AI Summit. We're joined by IT Minister Dr. Puthiya Thalaimurai. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's great to have you. We are here at the Hindu AI Summit, joined by IT Minister Dr. Puthiya Thalaimurai. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's great to have you. So there's a lot of conversation that's going on, about on AI and about upskilling and reskilling. What are the initiatives that the Tamil Nadu government is taking to reskill and upskill their Tamil youth?
I think through the non-Mudhalan scheme, a lot of agreements have been signed with major companies like Oracle and other companies to bring programs that will facilitate the later stage, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, like that, students and the immediately passed out graduates of schools and colleges on the appropriate kind of skills. In due course, we will have to think about revamping the curriculum at the school level, which is something that all governments and all school departments, higher education departments will have to do. In our case, I would say it's going to be a bit more profound because historically, all over India, we have focused a lot on rote learning, memorization. These are the kinds of skills that will no longer be needed when the machines have almost infinite memory. We'll need much more logic, reasoning, basic scientific awareness, and these kinds of things will have to be inculcated early on in the educational spectrum.
So, India is kind of seen as a back office of the world, and Tamil Nadu particularly plays an integral part in it. We have been talking a lot of business leaders. They say there's going to be profound layoffs. Is the Tamil Nadu government prepared for this? What are steps you take?
I would say already that we have progressed quite a bit from being the back office of the world. This AI and all that is not as if we went from black to white or 0 to 1. The nature of human work compared to machine processing has been shifting pretty continuously. I would say already what we are seeing now is relatively high-end work. We are no longer seeing very low-end work. My own view, at this point, like all emerging technologies, AI will be augmentative rather than replacement. It will enhance human performance rather than replace human beings. At some point it will start replacing, but that point is probably a few years away.
So one last question from your tech conclave, where you said 80 to 85% of the Tamil Nadu IT workforce, predominantly it's Tamil workforce, right? The whole world is talking about diversity and inclusion. Isn't this kind of the trend is against contradictory for what's happening in the world?
Yeah, I'm not saying that I purposely went out of my way to make it 85%. I'm saying that because we are such a great source of human talent, and because no other place is graduating to the scale we have, it's a profound mismatch, right? We are less than 6% of the population. We are graduating 20% of the tech talent of this country, roughly, between engineering, polytechnic, ITI, etc. It is only natural that if you have that kind of a ratio, you will find that most of the local force is local, workforce is local. It's not designed, it's not intended. It's not that, in fact, I'd say, how do you define diversity? If you say more women participation, we are by far the number one in the country, and compared to the world, we are in good shape. If you say it is all communities, rural, urban, also, all castes, all classes, then we are extremely diverse workforce. If you say non-Tamil speaking workforce, then we are not, but that's not because of choice, it is because of the market, right? That's all.
Thank you very much. Always fantastic talking to you. Thank you.
I'm not sure what I could add.